appreciate those of you who came by. I appreciate the text. I appreciate the phone. Just everything. And I especially appreciate Shannon Gilmore, our cousin. Honestly, Shannon, I don't know what I would have done without her. I thought I had it all together somewhat. I thought when she offered to come to the funeral home with me to help make arrangements that I would do just fine. Oh, not so. She's smarter than I am. Of course, I cried. She and Bart had to pick out the casket. I couldn't. Today's the first time I saw it. But y'all did a beautiful job, by the way. So people told me how pretty it was, and I couldn't take any credit. You knew Claude, and I knew Claude, but we didn't know him the same way. I don't know how you knew him, but each of them knew him differently. Whether you were a relative or whether you were a friend, you just did. But I want to tell you how I knew Claude. I was 9 years old. Yes, I'm a lot older. And that's why it's unfair. It should have been me, not him. And I told somebody that when I get to heaven, the first thing I'm going to do is I want to see Jesus. But after that, I want to know where Claude is, and I'm going to hit him. I'm going to hit him hard. And if he were still alive, I'd end it, and it would be on my terms because I'd shoot him. It wouldn't be his choice, it would be mine. Because all in all, I know it's God's choice. I do know that. I'm not dumb enough to think it was Claude. Okay. Now that I got how I really feel about it, I'll tell you a little bit of things about Claude. I was so excited when we had a baby in the house. I didn't care whether it was a boy or girl, it could have been anything. Just a baby. It was a baby. I was barely allowed to touch him. My mother was scared to death I was going to do something because I just lived in the room where his crib was located. She would say, "Now, Barbara, don't you touch him." And she'd go next door for something, and I would slip into the bedroom, and he'd be lying there, and I'd slip my hands under him, raise him up about an inch, put him down right away. She'll never know. She knew every time. Every time. But thank goodness she didn't. I got a lot of spankings because I was bad, but she didn't spank me for doing that. She knew I loved him so much. When he was about 3 or 4, it seemed as if suddenly the roles changed. And my mother took care of him, she bathed him, she fed him and everything, and she loved him. But I seemed to be the one that took care of him. It seemed to me that whenever she couldn't find him or whatever, I was the one that had to go out and locate him. And that was okay with me. I dared anybody to touch him. So if he came in crying at 4 or 5, I found out who the older child, and then I went out and threatened them with their lives, scared the life out of them. They would come crying, and their mother called my mother and said, "That daughter of yours is so bad." And I thought, "Yeah, I will be if you touch my brother." Leave him alone. It was kind of interesting because when Claude was little, the chaplain said something about him preaching. I'll never forget one time when he was about 5 or 6 years old. My Aunt Grace, my dad's sister, and her husband, and my grandmother, and several people were at the house. And Claude, the one thing I can say about Claude loved church. He loved all the little Christian songs that they teach children. He loved to go to Marion and Carl Perry's house in Lake City because Marion would teach him songs that he didn't learn in Sunday school. And then he would drive Mother crazy because he would sing that song over and over and over and over again. He got the mumps when we were at Lake City one time. We were going to leave to come home. And of course we couldn't, and Marion insisted he stay in bed. And he was excited because he was going to learn more songs. So he didn't mind having the mumps at all. Okay? So he decided he was going to preach this day when the relatives are over. And he went and got a Bible that he couldn't read because he didn't understand all the words. And he stands there and he holds this Bible up. And he used the these and the thous and the things he heard in church that he didn't understand. And he's preaching. He got through and he put the Bible down and he said, "Now it's time to pass the hat and everybody needs to put something in the offering." Isn't that cool? Yes. My mother about died. After everybody left, she wanted to kill him that day. But let me tell you something, that kid got a lot of money. So it started young. I just want you to know, he started knowing how to do things young. Anyhow, when he was about 12, I think he was about 13, my parents were living in Alabama, and my husband was in the military, and he was going to have to go away for a year overseas. And my mother called and she said, "Since Mel is leaving, we're going to bring Claude to live with you." And I said, Claude's gonna come live with me? And she said, yes, I'm kind of worried about you living alone. And I thought, no, I know that's not true. You just want Claude to come live with me. And Claude got on the phone, please, please, please. They used to call me Bobby. And he said, please, please, Bobby, just let me come live with you. And I said, okay, come on. So they brought him to live with me. And Mother said, oh, by the way, you'll have to enroll him in school. And I said, okay, that's fine. This was like in February, so it was in the middle of the year. And I took him to school, I enrolled him, but I was working at a bank. And I don't know how it is today, but back then, banks on Friday stayed open until 6 p.m. So I didn't get home until really late. And one time I came home after about 4 or 5 weeks, and Claude said, in the morning, you've got to take me down to the city marketplace. I need to be there between 6 and 7. I said, this 6 or 7 in the morning? That's my only day off. Why do you have to go to the marketplace? It was like a flea market where you go and rent tables. He said, well, I've got stuff on sale. And I'm like, what do you possibly have, that you're going to sell at a marketplace? You've only been here 4 weeks. And he said, oh, I've been knocking on everybody's door. True. And he said, I asked for old clothes and things that he didn't want. I said, Claude, please tell me you didn't say you were going to give it to the poor. Just don't tell me you told him it was for charity. Oh, no, I'm going to go sell it. Okay. So I took him to the marketplace. He got a table. He was so excited. He got there early because he wanted to make sure he got a table, because people got the tables right away and you didn't have one. I had to go pick him up at 12. I'd say after about 3 or 4 weeks, I picked him up, and he had every kind of fresh produce that you could imagine. And I said, well, where did you get that? Oh, he said, those people over there gave it to me. I said, they gave you all this fresh stuff? Oh, yeah, it was left, and they said I could have it. I didn't buy another thing from the produce section of a grocery store the rest of that summer. But in turn, what Claude did, I came home one Friday, opened the refrigerator door at about 7 o'clock at night, and there is a large 20 to 25-pound bag of raw chicken feet in my refrigerator on the top shelf, leading just a little bit dripping down all over the refrigerator. And of course, about that time, I said, Claude McSwain, where are you? And he came running in there, and I said, what? What are we doing with this? Oh, well, I'm going to take them in the morning and sell them. I said, did you go to Christian Poultry right down the street and get these? How much were they? Well, they sell for 2 cents a pound, but because Mr. Christian knew me and knew Mother and Daddy, he let me have them for nothing. Okay, Claude, this is fine. So I took him down to the market. I went and got him, and he said, oh, look, I sold them for 10 cents a pound. And he had all this money that he had made. I said, you are kidding me. I said, oh my gosh, what is he going to do with the rest of his life? I just started wondering about this. I said, please, just don't get any more chicken feet and have them in the refrigerator. He said, we don't have to worry about bringing me home anymore. I said, why? He said, oh, those people said they'll bring me home. I said, they live in the opposite direction. They're going to come all the way here? Yeah, they did. And then they started coming and picking him up on Saturday morning. I mean, it wasn't enough that they were going to bring him home. They just thought he was absolutely wonderful. About a week after so much time, I worked at the bank, and in walked this man, a real estate man. I don't remember his last name. His first name was Jimmy. I love your brother, Barbara. And I said, well, I love him too. Oh, I just wish my children were like him. And I thought, well, I don't know about that. I didn't say that. I just kind of smiled. He said, but you got to sign the paper. I said, sign what paper? Well, you know he rented that building. I said, he's 13 years old. You have rented a building to a 13-year-old boy? He said, well, he looks a little older. I said, how much older could he possibly look? 2 or 3 years, he'd still be a child. I'm not signing a paper. What is wrong with you? Who rent a building to him? Well, he said he could make money. I said, well, make money. No way. No way. So needless to say, I did not sign the paper. And I thought, they need to come get him. I don't know that I'm going to take care of him much longer. But we stayed there for about about 6 months. And then my mom and dad came to get us. And quite frankly, I was about 3 weeks from delivery of my number one son, and they come and get me, and we were there in Alabama about 2 or 3 days, and Mother and Daddy said, oh, by the way, you'll have to take Claude and enroll him in school. I thought, this is a broken record. And I said, I'm big as a barrel here. It's really kind of hard to drive. Yes, but we're going out of town for about a week. You'll be just fine. You take care of him. And I said, well, what if I have this baby before you guys get back? Oh, no, you won't have it before we get back. You've got 3 weeks to go. So I take Claude and I enroll Claude in school again, okay? As time went by, I was living in Morehead City, and Claude was about 18 years old. And my uncle, my dad's brother, owned a big hotel and a lot of property at White Lake. And my brother, from the time he was about 9 or 10, went and stayed down there with him a lot in the summer, working. And he just loved White Lake. But apparently, my brother goes to a motel owner and says that he wants to manage it for the summer. Not a relative. And they decide he's too young, but my dad speaks up and says, oh, I have a very mature sister, a daughter, and her husband has just gone overseas again, and she has 2 little children. She'll come help. Without my permission or knowing, I found out that I had to run a motel for a whole summer. Now, Claude knew quite a bit about a motel because he had stayed with her aunt and uncle. I knew nothing about drink machines, linens, the people that worked there, or anything else. And it's there where he learned how to went to preach in an African-American church every Sunday. They came by and picked him up in a limousine and thought he was one of them. And I thought to myself, what in the world is this man preaching? I'm not going into any more details about that experience. But anyhow, we moved around a lot because of my husband being in the military, and we ended up in Wilmington again. We hadn't been there too long. And Claude, by that time, he was living in New York. He had attended some college there. And he calls me. And he said, I know that Mel's out. He was in the Coast Guard, and he was on a ship. He was gone 30 days at a time. And he said, I know that he just left and won't be home for a while. He said, I'm coming down, and I'm going to stay. I want to come stay with you a while. And I said, okay, fine, come on. So here, it was about Easter time. So Claude drove down, and he said, I won't stay long, I promise. I said, it's fine, doesn't matter, come on. So he came down, and he never did go back to New York. He did eventually go rent a place to stay, but he stayed with me for quite a while. And talk about how giving it was Easter. I had gone out and bought an Easter basket for my boys, and I had what I thought was enough candy for them to eat. And when I got up Easter morning and went into the kitchen, there was a basket about 3 times the size that I bought for each one of the boys. And he had green grass laid out all over a counter with 5 electric-type kitchen appliances for me. And I about fell over, and I said, oh my gosh. He said, well, you deserve something for Easter too. And I thought, well, yeah, but didn't I already have a mixer? I'm not sure. I couldn't remember, but of course it was the thought that counted. Claude was very good to my dad. My mother died in '98, and my dad didn't die until 2007. And my dad still thought that coffee was a nickel. And he was kind of a tight man. And he thought that a big bucket of chicken for $16 or $17 was $5. And so Claude would go over and take the chicken that my dad loved, Popeye's chicken, and my dad would give Claude $5, and Claude would say, that's fine, and never tell him, ever, that he was always paying more money for the chicken. We had always laughed about that. He liked some kind of Wendy's burger that was one of the most expensive burgers they had, not that any of them are. But he thought it was $1 because they had a $1 menu, and he was sure that this was on the $1 menu. And Claude never told him, no, this is more like $3.95 or $4. No, Claude never did that. Claude made sure he was fed. He cooked his special food for him. He went over and took him to the doctor. He made sure that he got every single thing he needed. When my dad met women he liked, he thought he had to marry all of them. And he married 2 or 3. Claude made sure it took him to the lawyer to get out of the marriages. wanted to get married. Claude called me and he said, let me tell you one thing, I laid down a lot of Daddy. I said, well, what'd you say? I told him, if you marry that woman, I want you to know you're not getting out of it. You're going to keep this one. I'm sick and tired of going to the lawyer and divorces. He was married to her mother for 61 years and loved her dearly. And apparently when he was married to the others, all he did was talk about my mother, and that's why the marriages didn't last. But Claude was not happy about all the marriages that my dad thought he had had, and all the women that he liked. But anyhow, he did take good care of him. And for a while I thought Daddy was handing me a bunch of junk because I called Daddy. You seen Claude? Claude never comes over here. And I thought, well, I am really going to call him up and bawl him out. He better get over there. But then when I went to the hospital a few days before Daddy died, I was standing in the hospital room talking to Daddy, who had Alzheimer's, and I looked up and Claude was at the door, and I said, well, Claude's here. I'm going to go out and let him come in. And I met Claude in the room and passed each other, and he said, you've been talking to Barbara. I have not seen her all day. I just walked out of the room. Then I knew for sure Claude really was going to see Daddy, really was taking care of Daddy. And I really appreciated that. There are a lot of stories I could tell about Claude. He got even with me for all the times I locked him out of the house by taking my boots off in 2 or 3 feet of snow up in New York and making me stand there for about 60 seconds until mother came screaming out the door, put her boots back on her, what's wrong with you? I was married and had 2 kids. Yeah, I didn't need that. It wasn't like I was a king for crying out loud. And he said, this is to get even with you for all the times you locked me out. So he did have his revenge. I loved him. I really mean it when I say I should be there instead of him. I don't understand it. I do know God's in control. I don't doubt that at all. I know that, and I'm thankful for that. But I'm not happy about it. I'm just not happy. I don't understand it, and at least I know he's not suffering. And I think that's the most important thing that we can ever say, is that we're happy that someone is no longer having to worry about anything on this earth. He's actually the blessed one. He's got it made. We're the ones that, I'm crying for me. I'm not crying for him. But he was a good brother. He was almost too good, and he worried about me. We texted almost every day. Now, that text wasn't long. It might be 32 degrees. That's all he'd take. But I knew he meant it was 32 degrees here. One of the things that's interesting is he used to say, never call me before 10 o'clock. But I noticed in the last 2 or 3 months that he would send me text at 7 a.m. Now, there's something wrong with that picture. He doesn't want to be bothered till 10, but he would send me text at 7 a.m. I told somebody that the other day, you know what they said? He programmed everything, gave it to Kelly, and told Kelly to push a button. He didn't send me a text. What do you mean he didn't send me a text? I wish she was still here so I could find out the truth of it. He probably did. Thinking about it, I bet he did. That sounds like something he would do. Anyhow, I've cried a lot. And I've tried not to say too many sad things because I don't want to cry again. Not because I don't want you to see me with tears, although that's a pretty ugly sight. I'm just trying to make it. I've already cried this morning. Shan's been wonderful. She'll send a text, how are you doing? And I want to say, I'm not doing very well, Shan. But I'm not. And it's going to be a while. I know it's going to be a long while. It's not going to be a day or two. He's going to be greatly missed by so many people. And I read my Bible every morning. And I read a verse this morning. It really doesn't apply to somebody dying like Claude. But I noticed that it was Psalms 126:5. And it said, they that sow in tears shall reap in joy. And when I saw that, I thought, yeah, this is really true. And we may be so in tears now, but it will turn to joy. If you know the Lord, if Jesus is your Savior, then you're going to know joy. One day, whether it's here or there, it's just going to happen. You can't live without the Lord. Thank you again for coming. I really appreciate every one of you, and I hope you will go and enjoy eating a meal with us. We would really like that. Thank you.